Hello, hi, I'm Paul and I'm a teacher at SET English. I'd like to do a short video here which is all about relative clauses and how we use them in introductions to OET writing. I've got an example of an introduction that was written by a doctor in our school, and I just want to talk about a common error that happens when people write these sentences. Also, there's an extra little point around how we extend relative clauses that could be very useful here. So let's go and have a little look at that now. All right, so look at that introduction. I am writing to refer Mr. Smith, who was diagnosed with possible agoraphobia. Now he requires definitive diagnosis and further management. Now, from a content perspective, that's perfectly good. Okay, there's no problem with it. We've got possible agoraphobia. That's good. He does have possible agoraphobia because it was written with a question mark. And we've got the purpose, which is definitive diagnosis and further management. So that's really good. That's exactly what we want from a content perspective. However, from a language perspective, we do have a problem. And I don't know if you can see what that problem is. But basically, this section here, okay, which I'll put in yellow, this is what we call a non-defining relative clause. Okay, it provides extra information. It introduces that clause with this relative pronoun. Okay, so that means basically this. Okay, so who means Mr. Smith. So Mr. Smith was diagnosed with possible agoraphobia. Okay, so far so good. But the problem is that when you put these commas here around it, what you're in fact saying is you can remove this from the sentence. Non-defining relative clauses are extra information that isn't essential for the meaning. And this section here, this section is called the main clause. Okay, that's the main clause. So we're in this situation now where we've got a main clause, we've got a non-defining relative clause, but we've also got this section here, which is now he requires, which is an extra verb clause. When we remove non-defining relative clauses, what we're left with should be a main clause that makes sense. So what happens if we remove this? I'm writing to refer Mr. Smith. Now he requires definitive diagnosis and further management. Well, that doesn't really work because I've got a verb phrase here and I've got a verb phrase there, but I'm not using any linker to connect them together. So that doesn't work. All right, that's a problem for us. So the solution is, okay, the solution is for me to extend the relative clause. Okay. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put and here instead of now. I'm going to take this comma away. I'm going to put and. Okay, and is my linker. And he requires definitive diagnosis and further management. Now the only issue that we've got here is that we've got Mr. Smith, we've got who, and we've got another word which means Mr. Smith. And that's he. Now here's a good rule for us to have, okay? When we extend, we'll take the colours away from that. Okay, when we extend a relative clause with and in OET introductions, we do not need to repeat the subject. Okay, we take this away. That's not something we need. All right, that goes. And now we're left with this whole thing being basically the relative clause. I'm writing to refer Mr. Smith, who was diagnosed with possible agoraphobia and requires definitive diagnosis and further management. Now we've got a perfect, really nice, easy relative clause use, very good introduction, good content. It sounds professional. So this is a good rule to remember. Okay? Very interesting. Good point to make. Easy to avoid these errors. And when it comes to introductions, really, when it comes to introductions, we should be perfect. Okay? We're making a first impression, and there's no reason for us to have issues like that in there. All right, okay, so that's the end of the class. Have a really nice day, and we'll see you soon. Okay?